The willow pattern plate has become an important part of every British home. Practically no British home is without at least one piece. But what is the origin of this willow pattern plate? So the Chinese had learnt to produce porcelain, whilst in the rest of the world we were still producing ceramics. The characteristic of this porcelain was its beautiful, delicate white color, and it was much harder, more resistant to breakage. Marco Polo brought it over. They started producing it in the 9th century, and Marco Polo brought it over from China. So the European producers wanted to be able to make it, but they couldn't find the ingredient to make it so white. Until the famous German porcelain factory, today it's a porcelain factory from Meissen, discovered that kaolin, which is a powder, a clay made from granite, was the main ingredient for making it white. And in fact, Meissen pottery is now very, very famous, Meissen porcelain. In any case, this was discovered around the 18th century, the beginning of the 18th century. And meanwhile, in Great Britain, people were starting to enjoy collecting Asian and particularly, Chinese artifacts. And so when at the beginning of the 18th century an English design of a famous old Chinese story was made, and it was printed onto porcelain, because slowly the ingredient became known, even though originally it was kept secret. So the famous willow pattern plate became very popular, and there were also willow pattern mugs and willow pattern cake plates. So it became a very famous plate. And the story, though, is a very, very old story, which was brought over by the Crusaders when they learnt it. And I'd like to tell you this story because it's an important part of the plate. Having the plate without knowing the story is not very meaningful. So here you are. Long ago in China, there lived a very wealthy mandarin. What does wealthy mean? Wealthy means rich. So there was a rich mandarin. He had a beautiful daughter named Kung Shi. The beautiful young girl was the promised bride of Ta Jin, a very old but wealthy merchant. So the merchant was rich. The young girl, however, fell in love with her father's secretary, a young man named Chang. Kung Shi and Chang would meet in secret beneath a large willow tree and dream of their future together. A willow tree, in this case a weeping willow, is a tree which has long, thin branches and leaves which hang down. Weeping willows usually grow by the river. Kung Shi was of noble descent, and Chang was a mere commoner. Mere means only, so Kung Shi was noble, but Chang was only a common person. So the young couple, no matter how great their love, would never be allowed to wed. To wed means to get married. When the girl's father found out about their secret meetings, he was furious. He banished Chang. What does banished mean? Banished means to send away forever. And he forbade his daughter from ever seeing Chang again. Kung Shi would sit beneath the willow tree. What does beneath mean? Beneath means under. She would sit under the willow tree that had once been a place of joy, and she would quietly weep. Weep means cry. Her heart was filled with pain. Not only had she lost Chang, but Ta Jin was a wicked man and a very difficult person to please. What does wicked mean? Wicked means a bad person, a mean person. Kung Shi longed to see her handsome young Chang, and her thoughts would fill with the happiness they shared while sitting in this very same spot together. What does longed mean? Longed means something you really want to do a lot. In this case, she really wanted to see Chang a lot. As the day of the wedding drew near, Chang returned. He sent a message with Kung Shi's maid to meet him by the willow tree. As Chang approached, he saw his beautiful Kung Shi sitting beneath the tree. Chang rushed to her side and once more held Kung Shi in his arms. They were so very much in love and did not want to be separated ever again. Chang and Kung Shi finally decided to elope. What does elope mean? Elope means escape for love, so they wanted to escape for love and get married without her father's permission. As they were starting to leave together, Kung Shi's father saw them and chased after the pair. What does chased mean? Chased means run after. The young couple raced across the bridge to a waiting boat and sailed away. A storm developed and the boat sank at sea. Suddenly, from out of the storm flew 2 snow-white doves. A dove is a white bird, usually the symbol of peace. Seeing the young couple's love for one another, the gods transformed Kung Shi and Chang into 2 beautiful white doves. These 2 doves have lived on forever and can still be seen today flying high above the willow tree where Kung Shi and Chang first pledged their love. What does pledged mean? Pledged means promised, where they had first promised their love to each other. So let's summarize the story. First, let's describe the picture. Here is a picture of a scene. There is a tea house. This is a tea house where the Chinese enjoy spending their time drinking tea. And the whole area is fenced off. This is a fence. There are various trees, stylized trees, larger trees and smaller trees, but the most important tree in this story is the willow, the weeping willow with all its branches falling into the water. Weeping willows always grow near the water. An important part of the story is also the bridge and the boat. Finally, there are 2 doves, 2 white doves, flying over the willow tree. So, once upon a time, there was a young woman who lived in a Chinese town. She was of noble descent, and her father wanted her to marry someone who was old and wicked, because arranged marriages were usual in those days. But this young woman didn't want to marry this old wicked man because she had fallen in love with the secretary's son, a young man who was very much in love with her, and they would always meet under the willow tree by the river to exchange their love. So, when the father discovered these secret meetings, he was furious and he banished the young man from the country. So he was sent far, far away and they couldn't see each other. But as the wedding day drew near, she was desperate and she sent a letter and he sent her a letter, and they decided to meet under the willow tree. So they met under the tree, and they again renewed their promise to love each other forever, and so they decided to elope, to escape for love, and they ran over the bridge. Here you can see on the bridge there are 3 people. 1, 2 are the beautiful young woman and her lover. Behind there is the father chasing them, trying to catch them and to stop them from eloping. But they managed to reach the other side of the river and jump onto a sailing boat where someone was helping them, and they sailed away. Unfortunately, this sailing boat sank, and so they died. But they were immediately transformed into 2 beautiful white doves, and so they were able to fly over the willow tree and remain together forever and ever. So they lived together as 2 birds flying in the sky, and their love was not lost. Now perhaps you could take a look at this picture of the Willow Pattern Plate and tell the story in your own words.